Let's discuss a fascinating topic: SIM, Security Information and Event Management. I can explain in real time how we understand what we refer to as a SIM, which is a crucial for security operation. And SIEM is not just a single term, it actually merged two concepts, SEM and SIEM. The primary aim of this tool is to gather logs from a variety of network and security devices. This encompasses your IDS, IPS, router, switches, firewall, email, proxy, Active Directory, Windows system, and endpoint solution that provides vital data from endpoints. The objective here is to collect logs, and as a security team, we need to analyze them. A SIM solution appears to be the ideal choice as it facilitates centralized login and aids us in effectively analyzing the data. I would recommend that we concentrate on collecting and examining information from devices sources including network and security devices, identity and access management application, vulnerability management tool, policy compliance tool, operational database, and external threat application. Everything in the environment will likely send logs either to a central repository or directly to the SIM solution. Okay, historically, SIM solution originated from IT operations where team manually utilized these tools to monitor CPU usage, ensure updated were applied to local desktop, laptop and servers, and confirm that system were patched correctly. They also verify if a window updated were installed properly, monitor hard drive usage, and log for any crashes or other issues. Okay, the operation team was the first to adopt an event management tool for better information management, which allowed them to monitor and understand the infrastructure effectively. Over the time, the security team saw the benefits of these tools, leading vendor to merge SIM and SEM a feature into all-encompassing security information and event management systems. This tool provided significant benefits, especially in real-time analysis. They collect data from various sources such as servers, desktop, antivirus programs, database, and operating system, and sending this information to the SIM solution without delay. The functionality allows security team to sift through logs as a event happen. Okay, this real-time capability is crucial for security professionals. When an alert goes off, they must quickly access whether the attacker is conformed to a single mechanism or if other systems are experiencing similar communications, whether they are incoming or outgoing. They also need to verify if any files have the same hash value or file name, and to grasp the overall situation. In the end, these tools support a variety of functions, including contextualizing and visualizing data, which help security team to gain a clear picture of what is happening in their environment. We are currently working on a deploying an antivirus update. Once the update is live, each endpoint will reach out to the central server to confirm receipt of the update. The central server will then forward the logs to any SIEM solution, allowing me to set up a rule that alerts me whenever an update is received from the central repository, specifying which machine it pertains to. Given the total number of machine in my environment, I can quickly assess whether the update has been successfully applied to the all endpoint, or if any are still missing it. In another situation, if a single machine access a suspicious website, my first action would be to log that website and check how many other users have visited it, and this helped me understand the extent of the issue and what action I need to take. Okay, thus the logs play a crucial role in any security operations center. Okay, SOC analysts dive deep into logs to grasp their content and purpose. They meticulously sift through the data and crafting rule and pinpointing pattern or logic within the logs. It much like searching for the needle in a hashtag. Okay, although the logs are accessible, understanding their significance is initial. Analysts must identify the origin of this log and how to correlate different types such as the antivirus and firewall logs. They search for attack pattern and evaluate whether something is a false positive and reveal what is truly happening. Okay, the main goal of SIEM is to detect threat and potential breaches. For instance, if you have an injector machine heading to a specific site, you might want to find out how many other mechanism has accessed that site and the reason behind it. You can search and gather audit log for security compliance and such as security compliance, such as checking how many users fail to logs into their account, or how many service account are logged into different machine. It's important to question why a service account with elevated privilege would log into a desktop. This type of analysis can help you quickly identify issue. Additionally, these investigations can provide evidence of activities within your environment, allowing you to correlate data from various sources. As I mentioned earlier, it's crucial not to focus on just one specific set of logs, but to efficiently correlate indicators across multiple logs. This included your firewall logs, endpoint log, logging attempt, from window authentication log, phishing logs, and antivirus logs. By examining these various data points, you can better understand whether an incident is isolated or if there is someone within your environment engaging in suspicious activities. Okay, now defense in depth. There is a concept known as a defense in depth, which refer to layered security for every organization. Okay, every organization data is at the core of what they aim to protect. There is an application that server as the interface for accessing the data. Okay, then you have a host where the application is installed. This host reside on the internal network. The internal network is safeguarded by a perimeter, which can be physical or virtual, especially with a rise of cloud services. Finally, there are policies, procedures, and awareness components that form the layers of defense. You might wonder why so many layers are necessary to protect the data. Well, the data is now considered a vital asset. While your computer can be an asset for an organization, the critical element is the data itself, which is what organization strive to safeguard. Take banking interface for example, where swift transaction occur. Protecting the money transfer system is crucial. Similarly, Coca-Cola want to keep its secret formula safe. Okay, the exact location of that formula is often unknown, but it's stored on a on a system or server, either in a secure or a connected environment, accessible only to the specific group of people. Okay, access to this information is tightly controlled and audited. For instance, your application data might be protected by a strong password and an access control list that regulate who can access the data. The data is protected by endpoint security, and there are established communication paths. Okay, patch management ensure that security updates are applied. Okay, and intrusion prevention system monitor that the host to identified incoming attack types. Antivirus software is installed on the host and along with the host based firewall. Server hardening measures are also in place. This is all focused on the host. For perimeter security, we have our internal network, perimeter defense, network segmentation, intrusion detection system, VPNs, and physical access control. All these measures are designed to complicate an attacker's effect and provide us with some level of security. It's important to recognize that if an attacker is determined, they will find a way in we can only delay their um, access, not completely prevent it. Okay, understanding that attacker will eventually breach defense is crucial. By analyzing how they infiltrate our system, we can begin to block those entry points. It's akin to a cat and mouse game. The mouse can enter through a small hole while the cat try to guard their entry house. Okay, the cat must identify the potential entry and exit point where the mouse might come in. Similarly, security operations center, SOC, and information security team need to pinpoint their vulnerabilities, whether they lies in the host network or application. Defenders must be vigilant and prepared to respond to attacks from any possible location, while attackers have the advantage of choosing their time and method of entry. Now, typical corporate environment. A typical environment will likely look like this. You have your remote users, a primary site, and a secondary site. At the primary site, there is an edge router followed by your IDS IPS and then a firewall. Next you have a switch that connected the internal network to the external DMZ. In this DMZ you will find your web server and DNS. There is another DMZ that hosts your application server, SQL, and antivirus EPU server and file server, which also serves as a failover for the secondary side. At the secondary side, you have another is router, IPS, IDS, and a switch along with firewall that maintain the same internal and external network connectivity. Remote user connect via VPN to either the primary or secondary server depending on the resources they need to access. This setup illustrates how an attacker might gain access, particularly targeting the application server, file server, and web server, which are typically exposed to the internet. What really happens is that an attacker can pose as a normal user and say, "Hey, I am here to access the web server." However, they might also scan the environment or the web server for any vulnerabilities to gain insight into the backend technology or network range. If they can enumerate that information, it gives them an advantage. They might also send out email guessing the username of employees and see how many responses they get. If someone replies, the attacker gain a foothold in the network. They could also attempt a SQL connection to access a SQL server. If it exposed to the internet or part of the web server running SQL in the backend, initially the attacker will try to understand how the target's environment is set up. Understanding the environment is crucial for security operation as it helps determine what data should be logged in the SIEM solution. First, I recommended logging IPS data, firewall logs, web server logs, and DNS logs. Additionally, includes SQL servers logs, file servers logs, and switches logs to monitor incoming and outgoing data. It is also important to logs VPN activity and internal host log to trace how an attacker might have gained access. Okay, check if the IPS detected any alert, if the firewall logged any inbound connection to the web server, and if the switches recorded any large volume of data leaving the environment. Furthermore, access whether the edge router experience any denial of service attack or a high volume of incoming connection. Based on the information, we will need to create rule in our SIM solution that correspond to the log data. Okay, now log management. A log management solution involves handling large volume of computer generated logs, commonly referred to as an audit trail or a event logs. These logs are initial for compliance purpose as a companies are required to store them for extended periods. In the event of an audit, organization must demonstrate to auditors that they have written logs for a specified duration such as 90 days or 180 days. Additionally, the logs management solution will depend on your retention policy, which detected how long are kept in your environment. This can include hot storage for period like 90 days or 180 days, along with the cold storage for archived logs that may be retained for another 180 days. It's crucial for us to understand how log management work, including the types of audit log that are stored and how long they are kept. Log management involve the centralized collection, aggregation, long-term retention, analyze, and real-time storage of logs. This is especially important because organizations need to have a store policy in place regarding log management. They should know how long logs are available for data searches at any time. Moreover, if older logs are needed, there should be a straightforward process for retrieving them. For example, a friend of mine organization encountered an issue with a retention policy of 120 days. After that period, they had no clear guideline on what happened to the logs. When an investigation come up, they found out that logs older than 120 days were automatically detected, okay, leaving them without any data from before that time. This was a significant oversight as it limited their ability to investigate or find necessary information. They acknowledged this error and took a step to correct it by extending their retention period of 280 days for and host storage and 180 days for cold storage. Cold storage refer to archived data beyond 180 days, while hot storage allows for active searches of data within the 180 days time frame. Okay, anything older than that is archived, and they can request the vendor of retrieve log from cold storage for further investigation. They maintain logs that enable them to search back for up to 360 days, which is a smart approach. Log management goes beyond just gathering and centralizing data. It also involves keeping logs for future analysis. Okay, when an investigation come up, it's crucial to trace back as far as possible to identify when the activity look a place. While sifting through logs can be a lengthy and monotonous process, it is vital for accomplishing the task at hand. Okay, so how does log management work in a practice? As we noted in their early network diagram, there is a VPN along with the idea of primary and secondary IPS. But where do the logs from the IPS, Cisco switches, routers, web servers, and internal machines end up? Okay, in a standard configuration, syslog server collect log from the IPS, firewall, DMZ server, switches, and more. All all this information is sent to the syslog server, which they relay the logs to our SIEM solution. This setup allow the SOC team to logs in and search for the relevant information. These syslogs server are quite substantial, often feature multi-terabyte storage capabilities, that can accommodate large volume of data. They utilize a specific format for data storage that is easily interpretable by the SIEM solution. Why SIEM is important? SIEM is a crucial because it significantly adds a SOC analysts investigating incidents, whether they are breaches or internal and external inquiries. Okay, for instance, consider a scenario where you notice a pattern of attack reflected in your proxy logs. You might see a large number of users accessing newly created domain. Okay, if your logs indicate that many users are visiting a specific IP addresses or website that was just established a day or two ago, that should raise a red flag. Why why are so many users interacting with a recently created domain? Is this a precursor to an attack, or is something else occurring behind the scene? Perhaps some user received a phishing email that redirected them to this new site. This is where the investigation being. Without proper logs, you will not know how many users were involved, making it difficult to identify them quickly. You would also need to check your email logs to see if these users receive a common phishing email or any other type of suspicious communication, which could help you to trace their action. This is how you connect the dots and leverage SIEM for your investigation. SIEM system can generate alert, create report, and correlate data from various sources, enabling you to pipeline issue effectively. At this point, I believe the data indicates when these attacks being begun. From these days forward, we should be on the lookout for a specific pattern of activity, right? SIEM is initial if you want to excel as a SOC analyst. Understanding SIEM, how logs are structured and which logs are monitored, is crucial. You might be skilled at recognizing an attack, but if you cannot identify it in the logs, it will be challenging for us to investigate further. Okay, now top use cases of SIEM. Okay, let's explore the primary use cases for a SIEM and the types of alert you might want to create. The first use cases typically involves monitoring authentication activities, particularly any unusual authentication attempt across systems like Windows, Unix, or other authentication application. For instance, consider your web server where user login. If users are accessing the web server in a Windows or Unix environment when they should not be, it raise a red flag. You might notice a significant number of failed login attempts from a unfamiliar machine. This is the kind of activity you would monitor closely. Next, you would examine share account activities, especially those involving service account that multiple user access. You can track how many concurrent sessions are active and identify location. Is it typical for these accounts to be accessed from so many different sources simultaneously? Okay, this information would help you formulate a rule to better understand the situation. Additionally, you would want to keep an eyes on abnormal administrative activities, as these are often targeted by attacker. You really need to grasp what is going on with these administrative account. Are they frequently failing? Is there something suspicious happening, or it is just normal situation where the administrator forget their login ID and password, leading to multiple failed attempts? Or could it be a script running with administrative credential to perform update or similar tasks? It is important to stay aware of this. Additionally, you should monitor for information theft by keeping an eyes on any data that leaves your environment. Okay, when a large amount of data is leaving your network, it's crucial to monitor the bytes in and bytes out. Okay, you should pay close attention to the traffic coming from a specific desktops or firewall. Look for any unusual patterns, such as a high number of incoming connection or an email connecting a significant amount of data being sent out. Okay, additionally, if you notice excessive connection to a file server or a suspicious amount of data like 2 MB being transmitted to a web server, these these are red flags that need your attention. It also important to be vigilant about vulnerability scanning and correlation. You need to identify who is scanning your environment and understand their intention. Okay, if someone is conducting a mass vulnerability scan using tool like Nessus and Quells, you must determine whether they have permission to do so. Keeping track of scanning activities is initial, as an attacker may also scan your environment to learn about the applications you run and how your network is configured. Typically, they will perform an external scan to access your perimeter, identifying the type of devices and application you have in place. Okay, vulnerability scanning has become increasingly common, especially with the rise of automated bot and tool like Shodan. Okay, you have nearly every organization out there. For instance, a security company will want to scan the entire internet to identify the services that are running. Okay, they will look for vulnerabilities in your applications or servers and likely come back to inform you, saying something like, hey, we found a specific vulnerabilities on your web server. They might then suggest selling your a product to help protect against the vulnerabilities. It is crucial to monitor these scan and vulnerabilities assessment. Additionally, you have intrusion detection and infection prevention systems such as IDS, IPS, antivirus, and anti-malware tool. You need to log this type of endpoint detection and response tool into your SIEM. This way, whenever an endpoint trigger and alert, you will receive a notification through your SIM solution indicating that a specific machine detected an issue. If an antivirus program identifies a malicious file but does not take any action, or if it flags a file as a suspicious without knowing how to respond, it will likely raise an alarm. Okay, this alert will also feed into your SIM. Based on the alert, you have configured or the use cases you have established, the security team will be noticed to investigate further. They will look into details such as what the file is, and who is using it, when it was downloaded, and when it was complete. Okay, this deeper forensic analysis will help determine if the application is malicious. They may also reach out to the vendor to see if they can block the file or create an IDS rule to block the signature. Okay, it seems like someone might have altered the firewall settings, adjust the router configuration, or perhaps added or modified a policy. It is important for your SOC team to be aware of these changes. From there, you will need to dig deeper to understand what actually occurred and what specific action need to be taken. So, what is the timeline for this? Okay.